Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch Movie. I am Mike, and today we are reviewing the first Omen, the prequel to the Omen franchise. It'll be spoiler-free, at least up until the very end, with plenty of warning, so don't worry, I do not want to ruin this movie for you, because we got a good one. And in the dark year of our Lord 2024, where they have released some absolute turds into the wilderness upon us, the first Omen, and I don't want to get hyperbolic here or anything, hyperbolic, whatever. I'm not trying to get a name on the poster. I don't want to oversell your expectations. It's not the scariest movie of all time. You're not going to pass out or anything like that, although that won't... Ha! You know what I'm talking about if you know what I'm talking about. We got a good movie on our hands. And that's so nice, you know, in the year of Night Swim and stop motion and... God, what was the last one even? That was so horrid. I can't even remember. I don't care anymore. I've blocked out the PTSD. But my goodness, this movie had no business being as good as it was. When we saw they came out with hey, we're doing the first Omen, an Omen prequel from the studio that was bought by Disney. And I'm like, we're all doomed. It was like, this is the last thing that's going to feel original and authentic. This is going to probably suck my butt, Steve. Then the trailer came out. And we did a full trailer breakdown for it. And by the way, we do full trailer breakdowns for all new horror movies. We do horror movie news, live streams about horror movie news, horror movie reviews. So if you want to stay up to date on all your horror and have a good time in the pants, be sure to click subscribe right now and all that other crap. Because if you don't, we say curse words, YouTube, they bury us in the search. You won't ever see us again. And you won't know whether or not Michael poops. Michael Myers, that is. Because we are on the trail and one day we will find out. But yeah, we watched that trailer and we broke it down and it was like, hold on, this could be good. Like, this seems like this is actually interesting. It seems like one of those movies that's actually trying to scare you, which is so rare these days. Normally, like, hey, look at us. We're a horror movie. Boogity, boogity, boo. And it's like, it's not actually trying to be scary. It's trying to sell tickets. And that's what a lot of these movies are these days. It's so nice and refreshing to go sit in a movie theater and watch a movie that doesn't give a flying fuck about demographics, about selling this tickets to these people and these tickets to these people and getting as many kids in there as you can, Blumhouse. It just wants to make a good horror movie. It wants to make a scary horror movie for adults. And God, that feels good. It feels so good in and around the hole right now. That sounded weird. You know what I mean? It feels really damn good, and I'm so pumped about it right now. But it's directed by Akasha Stevenson, who is definitely on my list now for someone to watch out for the next thing they do. And again, I don't want to oversell your expectations about this, but the thing that makes it so special is, and so rare these days, is that it just feels so cinematic as a movie, in that it blurs the line between, oh, this is what they're trying to do here. Oh, I can see they're trying to be like this movie. Other than obvious homages to the original, which, you know, it's a prequel to the original, so that makes sense. It's a movie that just stands on its own and it does its own thing. And again, it doesn't feel like it's worried about trying to make sure it has enough Stranger Things in it to sell stuff to this audience and whatnot. It feels like a natural movie that unfolds in an organic way. And these people are just trying to make one singular scary movie to scare you. And I really enjoyed that about it. And the cinematography and everything about that feels 70s in this super organic way. It doesn't feel like, oh, look, we're nostalgic and we're trying to do this. Check out the song we played. It just feels like you're there. You know, it just feels, again, I don't know how else to say it. It feels very, very natural as a horror movie, and I really, really enjoyed that part of it more than anything. There was an amazing opening sequence, so make sure you're not late to the theater, or it's gonna take a chunk out of your experience watching the movie. I'll say that for sure. So the story I'll be super vague about, but you kind of get the idea here. This is the lead up to the birth of Damien, which is kind of confusing when you watch the trailer because, you know, we all know Damien is born of a jackal, but it kind of seems like they're hinting at in the trailer that Nell Tiger Free's character is going to be the one having the baby. So you're like, I'm not a fucking weatherman, but you don't seem like a jackal, a zoologist, I don't know, but you don't seem like a jackal to me. So that's confusing, and that kind of gets into spoiler territory for the movie, so I'll leave that be. But the movie's about Nell Tiger Free's character, Margaret, who's about to do her Jesus Yellowstone stamping ceremony where she becomes a full-on nun. And it's about her and the folks who plan the events to bring the Antichrist into the world by tricking poor, handsome, concerned Gregory Peck into adopting that little Satan-y fuck with the bowl haircut Damien. First off, the The sound team deserves Oscar consideration. I will go as far as saying that, even though they won't get it, because you know how it goes with the Oscars. They just pick 4 movies and they're like, they're the best at everything. I'm done. Can I go to McDonald's now? They don't even actually try to pick the best at everything. They just pick their 5 favorite films and just run it through the fucking, shit. Just like, it's got good sound. Gobble a gook. But this film, the ADR, the background sounds, everything. There was multiple times sitting watching this movie where I was like, squeeze me baking soda. I was like, where is that noise coming from? Just little creepy crawly noises in the background of the surround sound that just had me, kind of looking around the theater and feeling uncomfortable. And all the squishies and all that stuff. Just the sound in this is excellent. The score in this is excellent. They did such a great job. It also feels natural and organic in its own way. And it just felt like a natural work of art. Nothing ever felt like a copy of something else for the most part, other than, of course, the original film. And I felt like they did their nods to the original film in excellent ways. If they were going to do something the previous film did, what they did was they upped it a little bit. They squeezed their sneaker pumps and really got us into the next level. Some people's voice is a cool thing they did when someone will talk, and I think it's just maybe Ralph Ineson's voice, but sometimes when certain people talk, you would just hear demonic sounds coming out of their mouths. And I don't know if that was just me or not, but I'm like, that guy has a really deep voice, or that guy is the fucking Satan Christopher Kringle Christ. And then just in a world where we have so many movies like The Nun 2 that's like Walmart-y, or we have other movies on the flip side like stop motion that are just, I take myself so seriously, I'm not going to do anything at all. The first Omen kind of rides a perfect line. It's neither of these things. And while it is, slow burn-ish religious horror, some of the ideals of which we have seen before, they pace their scares out very, very well in this film. So you won't go too long without having something fascinating happen. And it's not, again, like in a movie like The Nun 2, where someone will just go, ha, and then run away and nobody gets hurt and it doesn't matter and it doesn't raise the stakes at all. It was just time for a jump scare. These are done really well, and they feel like they add to the story, and they're peppered throughout the film in a great way. It does fall into some certain horror tropes that you have seen before, again, tying into the first movie and certain steps and beats that other movies have made before, if you're really, really looking for that. But the movie around it's so well crafted, it's one of those movies that can kind of get away with that a little bit. And it doesn't make you want to just squeeze your own Bugenhagens just to stay awake. And the dynamics of the film, as far as rising up into the end of the film and then, doing its thing, are done pretty damn well. There's enough gory and messed up scenes to threaten you until the next act comes along, until finally, when you get to the end of the movie, you're actually pretty scared, because you're like, I don't know, a couple minutes ago, they did something pretty fucking gnarly, so I kind of expect something even crazier here, and you're a little bit with bated breath in the theater, a little bit tense. And that's great. That's horror movies, right? That's horror. I was a little scared. I'm not saying it ended up blowing me away and I wasn't like hiding in the back of the theater, but I was, at the very least, I was tensed up and ready for something that might fuck me up a little bit. And Nell Tiger-Free was just as fantastic as everybody says she was. She did a great job in the film. It'd be really easy to fall into that boring good girl nun trope, but there's enough dynamics as well to her character and the arc that she makes that make it a lot more interesting, specifically some of the scenes where you saw in the trailer where she's going out and just getting naughty. It just adds something to it. And then by the end of the movie, she has some physical stuff she has to go through as well. I just thought she did a great job. And I'm shocked to say that this movie goes there in the way that it does. If you were worried about, oh no, this company's owned by Disney and Alien Romulus is too, will they be afraid to really get, down with the sickness, and holy beansack from Bartleby Jones's Butt Town, do they? There was multiple body horror scenes in this that are just fucking gnarly. And from the orifices, I really liked how they handled the church's part in all this, how they kind of went back and explained in a non-boring way. They didn't focus on it so much that it took away from the plot at hand, but they did just enough of going back and explaining this dark side of the church that I thought that was a fascinating part of the movie. They let it breathe and be entertaining rather than going like too fucking Chris Kringle with it. I think a plane is about to crash in my backyard. Let's hope Denzel's driving it. Now, I will admit it's been a wild and crazy week for me, and I was a little bit hungover watching this. But I will say I found myself a little bit confused several times. So I'm not saying it's confusing. I very much understand where we got, but a couple times I had a little bit of trouble following some of the dialogue in exactly what they were talking about. It moves a little quick. Again, that could very much be me. I'm very a little confused about one particular part. There's a couple things that they don't exactly explain. They leave it for you, and that can be a good thing. Again, I need to rewatch it on that front. I was very, very tired. I got there eventually, so it wasn't the worst, but a little confusing, at least in my first viewing for me, as far as the steps it took to get here. And there's one moment at the end I thought could have landed just a lot harder had they done this one specific thing, and I was rooting for it. It makes me kind of a sick fuck, but I'll talk about that here in a few minutes when we get into the spoilers for the movie. And there was one moment where the movie thought it was dropping this crazy wild twist on you, and you're like, yeah, we know, homie. Like, that's kind of been the point this entire time. But apart from those tiny little things, the one movie you wouldn't think was actually feel original and natural is an Omen prequel again, but this one does. And I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I totally recommend you going to see it. Fans of body horror, of religious horror, of just dark and fucked up things for adults. You got to go see this movie. There's some great death scenes, there's some great gore, there's a cool story, and there's some freaky ass shit. It's a good horror movie, man. That's what we want with horror movies, right? Could have fooled me. Some of these movies could have fooled me. So, tiny little spoilers really quick before I go. Number one, the jackal situation is a little bit confusing for me, right? Because, like, she's born of a jackal. Like, how does all that stuff work? We see a scene where she's literally impregnated by the jackal, and you're like, what in the Michael Myers 6? Holy fuck. This is wild. They don't actually like show it. They just show like little part, like his eyeball or whatever, and like you'll hear. You can fucking imagine. I'm sure that this is all a very artsy way of showing how demonic and fucked up it felt being her in those situations. But they made the jackal seem like it was this gigantic demon, and you were kind of confused about the timeline of which it happened. I think it happened when she got drugged at the bar. That's what I'm putting together. But either way, yeah, they had the jackal impregnate her and a bunch of other people trying to make this Satan baby, and then they found the files for it, and all the babies were fucked up, and they all came out all messed up. Imagine what that really looked like in real life. Was very clinical and awful fucked up, because the jackal's like a little fox, right? This was like a gigantic demon thing, and I was like, what in the fuck shits? But that's fucked up just to think about. The scene with the hand coming out of the vagina. Oh god, I'm getting a stitch in my side right now just thinking about it. I never in a million years thought that I would see that happen in a movie. That shit was wild. And like the way that the camera worked, like where you kept like almost seeing the vagina or whatever, and like the legs are behind there, you know, they're not going to show it. They're not going to show it. And then they show the slow fucking protrusion of the vagina going outward, and that big fucking hand just with the claws from Insidious just right out of that fucking thing, like Ace Ventura 2 out of the rhino's asshole. That shit was cuckoo for fucking Cocoa Puffs. I loved it. It was amazing. I'm sick in the head. I'm twisted, but that was cool. The opening, how cool was that? It was such a nice homage to the first film with the spike thing coming down, only the painting fell and that glass just took a chunk out of that dude. And he turns around and his birthday cake skull is just divoted like someone just missed a fucking golf ball. And the dude doesn't even know it because it's taking out his cortex ceroculus, and he just smiles. And what a sick, twisted way to open that fucking movie. That was cool. And shit, the story-wise is fucked up because, like, how many girls did they make have sex with that jackal demon? And I didn't like how the end, how the jackal was, like, still, like, locked up, and you didn't really see it. Like, I want to see that fucker. Show me the whole fucking thing if you're gonna do the jackal thing. I want to see that fucker. But they just burnt him down with the rest of the place when she got rescued. But the thing that got me was two things. The car crash scene, I think they missed an opportunity for some really good kills there. Everyone was just in the car and these important characters were gone. I think they should have had some wild shit happen with the kills there. It really would have taken that scene over the top. But when she does her transformation and like her water breaks on the ground right after that and starts doing her fucking herky-jerky shit, amazing stuff by Nail Tiger Free right there for sure. But the thing that got me was when they had her and she's like, can I hold the baby? By the way, they showed the two kids. So she had the boy and she had the girl. And part of me wonders, I know that the Omen 4 went somewhere like that, right? But also it leaves it up in the end to where they could follow this storyline with sequels. So I found that interesting, but I'm getting ahead of myself. When she's like, can I hold him? And they give her the boy, man, how fucking big of an opportunity was that while she's holding the kid and they just, her stomach's open, they just pull this kid out of her. She's got all these creepy fucks around her for her to be like, and by the way, Philip, Dad from Shaun of the Dead was amazing in this movie. But I thought for sure she was just going to go like, like Tommy Boy with the biscuit. I thought she was going to snap that baby's head. And that sounds like a really weird thing to say out loud, but it's the Antichrist. So I thought that would have been such a moment in the movie for her just like, you know? for her to just be like crack, and like it would have been fucked up. It would have been in line with the rest of the movie. She would have saved the day. But instead, she can't do it. She's literally like, I can't fucking do it, man. She tries to. She sticks him in the neck instead. They get the baby from her. But I guess now that I think about it, that would be really fucking stupid because it's a prequel. Like, Damien had to live. In my head, I thought that was going to be a different Damien at some point. But at the moment, it sounded like a really cool idea. Like, just imagine yourself, put yourself in those shoes. Like, that would have been pretty fucking gnarly, right? You probably wouldn't have expected it. Anyways, yeah, I guess that kind of ruins the whole point. I kind of shit on my own idea there, but that's what I was thinking. But yeah, they get away. They get Damien, but she gets the girl, and her and the little kid that she'd been watching got away. I did like the "It's All For You" kill with the eyebrowless one, because I'm like, hey, if you're gonna do this kill again, step it up, light yourself on fire a little bit. You know, it's 2024. We got to really spice things up a little bit. So I did enjoy how they did that. The scene with the dude who was cut in half. And they signs it up, like Swing Away Merle. When she grabs him and is hugging him, she's like, no, I'll save you. And then realize in like the most demonic, fucked up fever dream sort of way that she has ripped his entire top half off and he just slides down. Fucked up and gnarly, man. So gnarly. I love that kind of shit. It was mean. It was fucked up. The whole birth scene was nasty where she just had this fucking goopy pod that they pulled out. Ew. Don't watch this if you're pregnant. Do not go see this movie if you're pregnant. I implore you. But yeah, the way it ends is they're off in a little snowy village cabin, and the man comes from Megiddo to see them. He's still okay, he's still alive, and she puts a gun to him. She's like, stay the fuck away. And he's like, I just want you to know, they know that you're here, they know that you survived, and they're coming for you. If so fact, though, what they could fucking do in that nature is, you got this stuff with Damien going on over here, and then they could follow this storyline and have a bunch of scary church people trying to kill her little girl, who's part Antichrist as well, I guess. They could actually do their own sequels off of this movie if they wanted to, which I find interesting. I find you interested. Show me your dick. Don't show me your dick. That was a joke. I don't want to see it, but I do want to see you subscribe. I love your fucking faces, and we will see you guys soon. Bye!
Here comes that white-faced fucker, an asshole like no other. He's a big old piece of shit. Wants to stab your sister's tits cause he's a white-faced fucker. Loomis can't recover. Dr. Challenge drunk again, sleeping with your sister's friends.
Do you want to know about the darkness?
I said, goddamn. Goddamn, you faggot!
Halloween never ends, suck my fucking dick, and I don't really care what Blumhouse fucking says. Put him in a box, or suck a fucking cock. You can say he's dead, but we all know he's not, yeah. So let's go trick-or-treating, let's go fucking drinking, let's all go rent Pumpkinhead on VHS.